All right, welcome back, guys. So, new on the workbench. um, I went back to Guitar Center to not accept the Hohner Galaxy guitar because it had dawned on me that I think this amplifier was the thing that really allowed me to have a better experience. And it didn't hit me till much later, actually a day later, about this amplifier. I was drawn to it incidentally because my first amp that I ever owned was the JC 120 Roland, and now what are we, 30, 40 years, 60, 50, I don't know how many years later, um, and they have restructured this amp and made some newer versions of the amp. They have kept and maintained the infamous jazz chorus effect. They have now they are allowing you to make adjustments to the amp by having a manual switch for the chorus, and you still have a switch to go to the vibrato. Um, they have revamped the reverb, which is more luscious now, and I think you get different effects of the reverb depending on how much you crank on it. The distortion has also been revamped. It's a very, very usable distortion now. Um, the first version that ever came out, the distortion was just, it was horrible. Probably one of the worst in the industry. So, in a combo amp. So, nobody really used distortion. But now they have totally revamped the distortion section. You still have your EQs and your volume. But now what's really different is they have engineered a stereo input, which really changes the game when you have an amp like this. This amp only has two 10-inch speakers, but they're massive. The magnets in the back of these speakers are massive. Um, and I think it just really speaks to the quality of this amp. The construction is very similar to the original ones, but in the back you have, you have a headphone jack. You have a line out that you can run directly into your board or whatever you like. Um, you have an effects loop that you can run in parallel or series, and then your basic foot switch for the reverb and chorus and stuff like that. So yeah, you can run that into your mixing board. You can run that into your computer. Your DSP. However you want to run it, you can do that. This amp probably weighs like 60 pounds. So it's a very nice amp, and the stereo input really sets it apart because what you can do now, because I got this from Sweetwater, and while I was there, I said, what if I ran a mono out into a mono in to a stereo out, a stereo in, and a stereo out? So I picked up on these two TC, and they're pretty well known. The Flashback and the Hall of Fame 2. That's actually the Flashback 2. And both of these pedals are very unique in themselves. They offer some very luscious effects, and they really add to the amp, the overall effect. I mean, it's kind of endless now of the ambient tones that you can get driven into this amp with these two. And actually, this distortion, this ultra metal, sounds absolutely wonderful in here. It's way better than the one that's built in, but this adds a lot more bass response and stuff like that. So if you're not familiar with these pedals, the Hall of Fame and the Flashback from TC Electronics both have like a built-in expression pedal with the mash, meaning like when you hold it down, you see the mash button come on. It will extend the effect you know, like if you had it on an expression pedal. And then you have all of your basic top of the line effects. You have your room, hall, spring plate, church, and your shimmer and your mod, lo-fi. And then on this one, you have your other effects for delays, 2290, analog tape, dynamic mod, that other one, and reverse and loop. And they also have short delay, long delays, and some really good adjustments to all of that. And you also have downloadable tone prints that you can customize if you want to. You have 3 presets or 3 things that you can download into the pedal itself. I wouldn't say presets. It's like you're creating your own. So you hook these up to the computer using the interface, and you can download an artist preset into the pedal, and or you can just whatever. They're so unique. Very different from like an all-in-one, like Andy Timmons pedal. This is way more controllable, and I think it's better to have 2 independent pedals doing the things they do best rather than one that's kind of mishmashing everything. So this is the route I've taken, and what's cool about doing it like this also is, as long as I'm having a stereo out into a stereo in, I can also take one of the stereo outs and run it into another amplifier, which they had talked about. So I can actually run that into my Yamaha as an alternative output. So I'll get the 2 speakers out of there working at the same time. Those 2 speakers are working, and so it really adds for a huge sound. And with the delays bouncing back and forth, it's really crazy, man. It's really, really crazy, and it's all because of what this amp can do and these pedals running a stereo out. Not only that, but if you have a unit like this, if you have a unit like this, stereo out, you could run it into the unit too. So that's pretty unique. Stereo inputs right in the front. That's really fucking cool, man. And it's got that famous jazz chorus, which is, line 6, Boss, Fractal. They all have this fucking amp in their settings, in their library of tones and effects, because it's Roland, and that jazz chorus is just phenomenal. You usually you can't get away from that. It's forever in your mind once you hear it. And it was actually my first amp when I first got into playing the electric guitar. So yeah, it's really just a beautiful amp. You can't get away from it. So what do I have going on here? That's just the amp. A little bit of the reverb. And so I have the reverb on right about the 12 o'clock setting. I've turned down the treble because it's a very bright amp to begin with anyway. And backed off on the middle and have a little bit more bass response. And then if you crank the reverb, it's got a good reverb. It's no longer that cheesy reverb it used to have. So it's really, really nice. So now if you turn on the manual chorus, the famous jazz chorus. I mean, it's really, really nice. So I have the reverb kind of tapered off to kind of hear more of the effect of the chorus. Now, if I hit the flashback, let me turn up the level a little bit. You can get the original jazz chorus to be really ambient. I have the level on the flashback halfway. This is about 3/4 now. Yeah, so the chorus effect is directly from the amp. Now I could bring down the level and turn on the Hall of Fame that has sort of a shimmering thing. Let me turn up the level on that a little. There's another shimmer in here that's kind of a little bit more aggressive. So it's amazing because of the stereo input. The It's kind of endless where you can take this amp. Definitely a giggable amp. With the stereo input, it's kind of endless. The kind of ambient tones you're going to get. And if you use these TC Electronics flashback and the Hall of Fame too, it's really like it's really crazy how well this amp just comes across. I mean, it's just amazing. Even if you pump in your own distortion, you know. Um, Now, if I turned off the chorus, then you get the effect of the pedal, the distortion, and the flashback running through the amp. So there you have it, guys. I mean, if you're ever in the market for an amp that goes into stereo, that can be split into stereo, you can take the one channel from the left or right and run it into another amp. And it creates a spaciousness that is unbelievable to the human ear. So when you're running these two 10-inch speakers designed by Roland, man, this thing is nice. That distortion is coming from the Behringer Ultra Metal at a halfway gain, with pretty much a lot of the high end done away with. It's kind of running a very low end type of tone. That thing sounds sick, man. But yeah, I can't imagine another distortion pedal sounding as good running through this amp. Say what you want about Behringer, but this Ultra Metal distortion has a lot of good settings, and you can get a real nice tone out of this pedal. It's not some sizzling bacon. You can go sizzle on this if you want, but I never turn it up past the halfway mark. It's usually halfway or just a quarter of the way on the gain. I never have this thing cranked because there's no, it sounds good. Like, why would you want to go past this point? That's enough gain, man, really. And you see, I'm not using anything complicated. But the Roland speakers really do add a lot of, and with the Firefly, yeah, this thing's awesome. And what's really crazy is I can take that one cable, which I've already done, connect it to my Yamaha, and I get this really spacious distortion running from here, out of 4 speakers, these 2 little ones. And so it's just like crazy, and it doesn't take a lot to achieve that. All you really need is just one stereo out, and you can run stereo into, two different amps, one here and another one. So can you imagine if you had two Roland 40s running in stereo, in quads, two here and two there? I mean, it would just be like effing crazy, guys, effing crazy. So, gear of the year, man, this thing is badass. I mean, they really revamped that amp, and I just kind of, was playing it last week, and I was like, man, I don't really think it was the guitar. I think it was the amp. And so after doing some more research and understanding what exactly they did to this amp, man, I was like, yeah, I gotta have it. Definitely. And now I understand what I was thinking comes to life with these two pedals. Super ambient tone coming out of a real amp. It sounds real organic. It's not like playing through the computer, through your DSP. So it's a total different vibe here. This is way more enriching, way more satisfying, and just has a really nice texture. I'll do a video. I did a video on this 34-year-old made in Mexico Strat. I'll kind of upload that. That was actually a trade. I traded one of my Ibanez Super Shredder guitars for this 1991 made in Mexico Fender Strats. But the whole insides were just a complete disaster. So I basically resoldered everything in the cavity. What's original is the body, the neck, the pickups, but I resoldered the pots and all the wiring with 250K pots, 2Bs, 1A, and I cleaned up the solder on the 5-way selector, which was not original either. And yeah, this is a really nice guitar. It's got a very goldenish brown maple neck. It's going to need a refret. Somebody really played the heck out of that one, but that was a good trade. And this thing sounds amazing too, by the way. It's for 34 years old. That's an amazing Strat. Totally vintage to me. It's got a lot of good patina on there. The pickguard is patinaed, aged. The pickguard covers are aged, so that was a good trade. Yeah, and then also, guys, the update to the Firefly Les Paul. I got the pick guard in, the purple pick guard. Check it out, man. Looks great, right? Fuck, looks awesome, dude. That is an awesome looking PRS. That's how many Les Pauls do you see like that with an ash purple? No. Mm-mm. Yeah, so that kind of worked out really well too. So yeah, that's I got a little project there going, but nice amp. It's just a brilliant design. Stereo in, stereo out, and I can use all this. I might have to get a new pedal board to kind of get everything rearranged, but this pedal board is probably too small to house. I'm probably going to need one that's a little bit longer for sure. And so give everything a little bit of space. And this is just too small. So I'll probably just sell this pedal board. I did have a bag for it too. Maybe somebody does, because that's all I really needed right there. So this is just an afterthought. Very inexpensive pedal, but man, such a variety of options here. Simple to use, very practical. And then you can have, you can download 3 of your favorite settings, or create 3 of your own and make your own tone print and have them in there too. So, and then you got the mash. So these are very inexpensive. I think way better than the Andy Timmons, man. And they can be so ambient with this tone and that famous jazz chorus. It's just beautiful. That's all I got, guys. Have a blessed week and take care.